Yeah, it absolutely is. Dels, what do we have here with the picks and bans?
Uh, well, first of all, we have Ryooo banning High Rise, Duckit banning Aquarium, and they're all up on screen now.
Yeah, yeah. This is pretty standard actually. Rio has banned High Rise 8 times this season, so nothing weird there. And Duckett has banned Aquarium 6 times. They are both banning their most banned venues, and this is actually something we've seen throughout the tournament of position. Even players who are famous for not banning, like Wodar was one of them, for example. Those tendencies are gone. Tournament of position, you do not mess around. You ban what you don't like. If you don't like to ban, you make an exception. You pick what you're comfortable with. People are falling back into their comfort zone whenever possible with this much on the line.
And that gives us Ryu picking up Library. Duckett grabs Ballroom. Rio grabs Gallery. Duckett picks up Terrace.
Oh boy.
Rio picks up Courtyard, and Duckett finishes us off with Balcony.
You see clear choices here from Duckett. These are underdog picks. There's 2 Softail variants and Ballroom, which, while technically requiring 4 missions, is a venue where you can get that hardtail buy a lot easier. Pretty standard draft in that sense. What I find really interesting, though, and I'm going to want to see later, is how Duckett responds on Terrace after losing those 2 brutal Terrace games to lose Iron earlier. They're going right back to that well.
It's going to be an interesting set of maps, to be sure. Although I think we're starting around flipped because the first set of games I have is on Ballroom.
Yep, same here. It's going to be, looks like Rio as the spy on Ballroom.
That's what I've got as well. So without any further ado, let's get this show on the road as Rio starts things out on the spy side, Duckett on the sniper. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Opening things up with a green flirt at the windows as well. That's always a nice thing to see at the start of a game.
Yeah, and this is something Duckett's not going to be used to seeing. When you get below copper, the seduce rates are much lower. We've seen that time and time again, Tobo. We've seen lower divisions have trouble completing flirt, and that the top people in those divisions are the ones who don't. But Rio is coming from a division where that doesn't happen anymore. They complete seduce 64% of the time. So if Duckett is counting on a timeout like he sees against a lot of other Iron players, I don't think he's going to get it from Rio.
Well, spending a lot of time just hanging around in innocent places, but back in this conversation with the seduction target once more. Chance to finish up in 2, but doesn't hit the green test for it, so he's up at 85%. Still plenty of time to work with. 2 flirts on the table. Now being offered a drink as well.
And Duckett is paying a lot of attention to that ambassador right now. They seem to be almost selling out on that mission in particular, and they might have missed a fingerprint as a result.
Absolutely, picking one up off the drink is very nice to see, and especially when you're going between conversations like that, it's one of the more difficult ones to notice.
Absolutely, and Rio does favor fingerprint, completes it about 30% of the time. That is a pretty high rate, and they win about half their ballroom games on Spy, too. So this is one of the places they want to be, and this kind of steady progress is going to put them in a good position.
Absolutely. Now tracking down the double agent and the seduction target at the same time. This is a great conversation to be in. Probably not quite time to hit the contact, but definitely time to finish up the flirt. That's 1 mission done.
And the conversations are filling up a little bit. This would be okay at this point, but they probably want to wait for 1 or 2 more people tops to get in there. And Duckett has moved to watching, wow, both the ambassador and the guest list, because they're on the same part of the venue.
There's the moment. We only really let off Smallman there. One of the twins as well got himself low lit, but other than that, it's a very solid green contact coming out of from Rio here. He's in a very good position with 1 fingerprint on the board and 2 soft tails done.
And Duckett seems to be vacillating between watching the bug and watching the purloin. When they're on screen together, it's nice and easy, but otherwise they seem to have to choose, and they keep going back and forth.
Fake contact, interestingly enough.
Is it covering or is it a misclick? One of those 2 things, probably.
Well, just takes an innocent drink afterwards and gets the fingerprint off of it. That's 2 drink fingerprints.
I think that's what it is. I think they're thinking, you know what, if I get away with this, I'm probably just going to win the game. I don't think they're going to be jumping up to take a late shot for center statues if that's where I'm going. Or you could just bug. Ambassador's not nearly as buggable now on that far side, though, as they were just a moment ago.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way Ryo's going to get shot here for center statues, but it's not center statues, it's side statues. 20 seconds to play. The necessity to go statue to statue might be enough to send it to overtime, but he just swaps it instead.
Yep.
Going for the hard tell, 5 seconds. It might have been visible for a split second there, but Ducket's eyes are elsewhere. Ryooo picks up game number 1.
I don't think that was on screen, or at least if it was, it certainly wasn't actually seen by the sniper. They were not expecting that at that time. They were watching the ambassador, and they were watching the guest list. And Ryooo, because those fingerprints were, I think, free, one of them explicitly covered with a fake, they were not a suspect, and they were not watched closely when they went to statues late. That was the right choice, and that's why it worked.
That is a statement start of a match from Ryooo, a very powerful spy game. Let's see how Duckit answers back in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Ryooo does like to swap. That's a relative term, of course. Nobody swaps at a crazy high rate, but 22% for Ryooo, that's high for most.
End of a match at a side statue as well when he hadn't been there yet. That's a good play.
Yeah, I think Duckett probably still should have been on it, though. A late statue visit in general, even if they're not a suspect, even if it's not center statues, you still got to be watching that. You have to at least check in on it at some point.
Get it? Because he was playing as general?
I don't know.
Well, Duckett picks up a fingerprint off the briefcase fairly early on in the game. No seduction yet, but getting the early fingerprint can be very useful moving forward.
Yeah, and that is kind of, that alludes to what I mentioned earlier. The seduce rate for Duckett, only 36%. This is something people struggle with in the mid to lower divisions.
Especially when your seduction target bails on you like that.
Yeah, and it's falling apart pretty quickly. They actually, by the way, swap at a higher rate than they seduce or bug. So you might see some
terrifying.
fireworks. Yeah, it's a little terrifying. They also purlin at a very high rate. So you might see some fireworks this game, to say the least.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Stepping into side statues now for a pair of inspects, but there's a lot of time off the clock. Just over 2 minutes to go already. And we have 2 inspects and a fingerprint. Now that we're at blue bookcase with our seduction target, we should finally be able to pick up our first flirt, and we do for a close green to 51%. But this is not the start you're looking for.
And I wonder if that was a misclick trying to mark the book with the highlight. It is not.
Apparently not, Track.
Think they might have caught a read animation issue there. That might have been it. Either that or an early flirt pair, whatever it is. Ryooo says, hey, we do things a little different up here in bronze, buddy.
Yeah, look at that. Leaves in the middle of a page turn.
That's all it takes sometimes. That's the kind of stuff you're going to get away with. Frankly, you'll get away with that in higher divisions sometimes, too. It really depends on who you're playing. It's much more sniper-specific than division-specific. But the point is, when you get up into these mid-divisions, you have some snipers, at least, who will burn you for that. And that's what happened there. 2-0.
And that is the kind of situation that will get you shook as a spy. Let's see if Duckett can calm himself down and get back into things from the sniper side of Ballroom. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
That's a great point. Spy losses, pretty common, even on Ballroom, but the psychological aspect of losing in that way is a big, big deal, especially if you already feel you're an underdog against a scary sniper. If you're Duckett, you need to shake that off, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Don't be afraid to finish missions, especially if it's something you maybe have struggled with a little bit in the past.
Ryooo gets a little bit of a gift from the seduction target here. Not a big one, because he's at a distance, but it's still 23% on the flirt.
And the only thing I'll be surprised to see out of Ryooo in this game is microfilm. That's their least completed mission by a pretty significant margin, and they have a good spread otherwise. And at this point, I don't think you need to do it. You know you can win a cleaner game probably against someone like this.
Look at this. Shifted over towards the ambassador a little bit. Might be gunning for some more fingerprints off of this bookcase. Although I think Orange Sorry just smudged him.
Yep, with the new build, print smudge on bookcases much quicker than before now. Something spies and snipers have to remember going forward now.
Oh, that was not the wrong arm bug you were looking for. Duckett is on top of things. If that was the other arm, it would have been a beautiful bug, but in that situation, it's just not going to happen. Duckett takes the shot and gets himself on the board.
And you could see them telegraphing that shot. You saw that funny little laser movement. This is something we see on a lot of these replays. When something like that happens, the laser doesn't whip over to them. It sort of just inches over towards them, almost like you can hear the sniper saying, was that a... Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah.
And then they take the shot. That little nudge towards the spy where they're considering whether or not to just shoot or wait. In this case, they decide not to wait, and they actually fire right back. That was needed to stabilize the match for them.
Absolutely. And now, even though it seemed like a rough start, Duckett on the spy side has a chance to tie things up coming out of the map. Let's see if he's able to pull it off in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Interestingly enough, coming into the tournament position, Duckett and Ryooo had identical spy and identical sniper win rates on Ballroom, albeit with different numbers of games, but they both played it a lot. They both won spy half the time, and they both won sniper 3/4 of the time.
That's awesome.
Yep, they both like it. Duckett probably perfectly happy to play this. They picked it 3 times this season.
Duckett actually opening things up at side statue. Usually you don't see spies wanting to open at statues like this, but it doesn't look like Ryoo's highlighting for statue visits, and Duckett gets a pair of inspects clean early in the game.
Yeah, that could be a nod to looking at that first replay and saying, well, if the sniper I'm playing isn't going to highlight for that, then maybe there's less reason to avoid it early on. Instead, I'll just make this early progress and not be behind the 8-ball late, which is something I have had some trouble with.
Speaking of early progress, steps into conversation with the seduction target, hits a nice close screen, finds himself 51% up on the flirt.
Duckett and Iron has gotten Civ's shot in their spy games almost 45% of the time, which is not just high in general, but it's close to, I think, about twice the Iron average. So they lean heavily in. Yeah, they watch the party and they lean into the frames. But the problem is Ryooo only shoots civilian 16% of the time, which is below the bronze average. So I don't know if it's a good matchup here. I think they're going to have to get missions done.
Yeah, I think so too. This is definitely a good start. Now, just hanging out in conversation, waiting for the timer flirt to show up.
It's 2 games that started with a green flirt. They died right after in the first one for leaving early on that bookshelf. But that's 2 in a row, and if they can 2 flirt, that opens things up quite a bit.
Well, second target went for a bit of wander, but wound up right back where he started pretty much. We're only able to hit the white test, though, for 85%. So it's not 2, and the time is starting to tick down. 1.5 to play, with 2 flirts and 2 inspects done.
When you follow a wandering seduction target, we call that wanderlust.
I love it.
We're not chasing him yet, though.
No, Duckett's spending a lot of time just chilling in this conversation. Really starting to get under the timer here. 1:10 left to play. No missions complete yet. This is a problem.
Yeah, this was looking pretty good, but about 50 seconds have burned off the clock here with no actual progress. We are idling, but if they're hoping to get some kind of idling lowlight out of Ryooo, you can see none is forthcoming.
Duckett now stepping out toward the conversation with the double agent. Under 50 seconds now.
And the end of red.
Contact comes off. Lots of movement during that.
Yeah, buns split. That might be helpful. It looked pretty spy-like, and there were a couple lowlights I think were maybe available and not taken.
3 lowlights. Here comes the purloin. It's a white test. Sees the list gone. Takes the shot. Ryooo takes out the first map 3-1.
Just like a good sniper, center mass. They were totally confident about that. They know, we all know, but Ryooo certainly knows that BBs like that can cover for purloins, especially on Ballroom. That's exactly what happened there. Maybe it works if it's a green, maybe it doesn't, but it doesn't work if it's a white, and you had a pretty good angle for Ballroom, too. So Ryooo able to shoot with confidence there.
Yeah, that's not where you want Toby to be if you're taking that purloin. Didn't quite work out for him, and Ryooo has a bit of a lead stepping into the spy side of Library, where you can see a lot more shenaniganry go on in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And this is actually an interesting setup here. Obviously, Ryooo in command, 3-1. Maybe you'd expect that.
Oh, I wanted it, Track. I wanted it so bad.
Yeah, well, Rio's going to try to play a clean game here, I think, instead. And also, they're not as familiar. They've only played 4 library games this season, but Duckett has played 23.
Oh,
So
wow.
even if Ryu may be better in a vacuum overall, comfort level, familiarity with this venue definitely favors the underdog.
Interesting. Because this was Rio's pick, wasn't it?
I think it might have been, yeah, that's kind of strange. I see the logic of it either way. 4 games, you don't want to draw any kind of conclusion. Obviously, they could play it casually a lot or in other competitive events, but this is something Duckett has favored all season, and you wonder if that comfort level is going to manifest itself in an extra win.
Either way, as we step into the green bookcase, we now have 84% in the flirt and pulling out the green book very, very quickly.
Yeah, trying not to be seen there. The goal when you walk out that quickly is almost always, I'm trying not to be seen or noticed here. If it is seen when you bail that quickly, you're usually a big, big suspect. So it's a big risk-reward kind of scenario.
Looks like it worked out for Ryo this time around, though.
The proof is in the putback. That's when we really know, but I think you're right.
This is very true. You can tell he's eyeing up the yellow bookcase, but doesn't want to make a move yet.
It is always fun to watch the spy camera and see which bookshelf they're looking at, trying to figure out when's a good time to take this risk.
Into yellow now, no shots coming off. I think this is clean.
Duckett did that same little sniper camera movement I mentioned earlier, though. I can't tell if it's because the ambassador is there and the guest list is there, too. They don't have any reason to look anywhere else, but I don't know. That little camera movement, it's got my spidey sense tingling, Tobo.
Well, we shall see moving forward, I suppose.
Oh, he's following both the ambassador and the spy across the venue. Which one is he more concerned about? I don't know.
In conversation with the seduction target, finishes that mission up. That's 2 down, 2 minutes and 15 to go.
And a stop talk right afterwards. Definitely treating this like library.
Where are we headed now? To the double agent, maybe?
We are moving around a lot.
It is looking like it's going to be double agent. In conversation with him now and waiting for people to start talking because this yellow side of the map is very, very not what you want to see for a contact.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And there's a lot of activity over there, so you're going to be seen. Your split's not going to be viable if you want to do one. If you want to cover for a Purloin,
Oh, that's such a bad time!
So many low lights
3
available.
statue visitors get low lit right off the rip. There are a few more available as well that were pretty visible, but looks like we're just going to get the 3.
Duckett prioritized the statue visitors at the expense of other ones, including some highlights, and that does matter, certainly, but I think they took the safe, what they figured the really important ones were.
3 missions done now. Ryo pulls a fingerprint off of the green bookcase and immediately steps away from it. One minute to play, 2 missions to get.
You know, obviously, what Ryo would love is for the ambassador to touch the center statue or something, or even just a drink. You'll take a fingerprint any way you can get it, and you could tell they're just waiting, trying to figure out what happens next.
Well, side statues is the plan right now. There is a fingerprint live on it, so we're able to grab that.
Swap again? Yep.
Swap again, that's the play. 35 seconds on the clock.
It's not visible.
3 seconds on the timer. Never got a look at it. And Ryo, with another swap at the end of the spy game, goes up 4-1.
Maybe they're thinking they didn't even really look for the swap, weren't expecting it on Ballroom, so what are they going to do on Library where they might not even get a good look at it? If you think you're not a big suspect for the microfilm, then they're not going to be staring at you necessarily, but any statue visitor, any potential highlight or anything late on Library like that, you have to consider the possibility. So Duckett, I think, just not willing to look for that swap late, not willing to shoot for it, and Ryu is getting to that point, getting to the final mission without being a big suspect. And that means they're not getting stared down for the swap, and that means they win again.
Ryo, I think he's just going to keep doing this unless Duckett can find a way to put a stop to it. But now it's his time to play on the spy side of things with Ryo on the sniper. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and you're running out of time now. You can't afford to trade from here on out. You need to score a couple of upsets, which means you got to start punishing them for this. And you're right. If you're Ryo, you're saying, I can just keep doing this until you stop me.
Don't do it. Okay. I was so worried he was going to go for that bug, but it was being watched too closely. Duckett opens things up by the ambassador really wanting to get bugged, so we oblige him, I guess. And Ryooo is not having it.
No, I think. Oh, and a green purloin, by the way, was pending. Also, bug doesn't really cover for purloin because there's no noise. I've never seen bug cover for purloin before. Obviously, I think I like the green purloin, maybe, especially if they're fixated on the ambassador a little too much and they almost forget what else is going on. But in this case, they just telegraphed it a little too much. There was just too much time there. See, spy enters conversation. They bugged 5 seconds later. I think if you just walk around that conversation, at the very least, maybe you get credited with a bug, but they never really see it.
Well, the thing is, we entered that conversation before the ambassador did.
Right. So maybe just
The
sort
ambassador just really wanted that bug to happen.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to say, no, no, ambassador, now is not a good time. The sniper is watching and I don't want to die. And boy, Ryooo just jumps out to a 5-1 lead.
This is a very difficult mountain to climb. It's not insurmountable, but it's close to as Ryooo steps back into the spy side once more. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
A couple more losses, and it might as well be Everest. Yeah, and Rio's going to do the purloin in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, no! Ryooo, that's not how you do that.
Shot through the head, through the pillar. I can admire the move, but here's the problem with it. You really, really, really want to green test those. And if you don't, you really, really, really can't leave early. Ryooo just said, I'm going to bet the whole game on this green. And unfortunately, it's the white. And that's actually really nice for Duckett. That's the kind of thing you need. A nice low-stress game just to relax, catch something obvious, make your opponent seem a little more human after winning 5 of 6 to start. Try to get a little momentum here going into the next venue.
Absolutely. But it's not the next venue yet. We've still got some library to deal with as Duckett steps back into the spy side of things. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And it would actually be really, really huge to pick up this spy win. I know they're still going to be down. Yep. Time ad early, aggressive, but solid. And so many people at Windows early. If they didn't catch it immediately, this won't even barely be narrowed down that much.
That's awesome.
Walt checked his watch. General checked his watch. People sipping simultaneously at Windows. All possible flirt pairings. All possible time ads. We might get 1 or 2. Smallman's low lit. They are not very confident, I think, about who did this.
Duckett just using this time to idle, it seems like, not really going for any early progress.
Well, it is
just using the time to be as inconspicuous as possible and figures he'll pick it up when the timer would normally start.
Yeah, we say this all the time. One of the powers of time ad isn't so much that you get to use the time, but it's that sometimes they just identify the wrong person and the sniper tunnels on them. Very often, like a red cough, it can work in your favor even if it's caught because they just get the wrong idea about who did it.
Now stepping into side statue early in the game. Able to pick up a fingerprint from it, which is a very, very nice find indeed early on. And just the one inspect while he's at it.
I particularly like this because I think in the wake of the time ad, the sniper's thrown off their normal routine a little bit, and they're that much more likely to miss something like a fingerprint, especially on a busy, busy venue like Library.
Indeed. White purloin, though!
Rio's confident. I was wondering if they were going to get a good look at the fade, and they are just totally, totally confident at that point. Oh, gave it right back.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah,
that one hurts.
And let me remind you how rough this is. Not only is Ryooo up 6-2 now, but as the higher seed, they only need to get to 8 to win this. So Duckett is down even more than they seem to be.
Wins the first map 3-1, wins the second map 3-1. If he does it again...
You won't even get a chance? Yeah.
Yeah, if he stays on pattern, we're only going to have 2 more games left to play. Let's see if Duckett has anything to say about that in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, Ryooo literally can't win 3 of 4 here, because once he gets to 2, the match is just over.
Opening things up with a 25% flirt.
Terrace is often about the waiting game. And that's what we're seeing here. This is something that we see a lot in Iron. Iron loved Terrace for some reason. It was one of really 2 divisions that played it a lot, almost as much as all the other divisions combined, as I recall. And Iron probably, I think, was the biggest on it overall. Obviously, the Iron final match was settled here.
Absolutely. And this is a venue where you can really take your time and try not to give the sniper anything to sink their teeth into. Timer flirt from the same conversation, from the same spot, brings us up to 51%.
And I wonder if familiarity is going to come into play on this one too, because Duckett personally played more Terrace games this season than the entire division Ryooo comes from.
Wow.
And the end of
Here's the
red.
contact coming off. Not perfect. Lets off 3 lowlights, which is a pretty good number on this map.
Yeah, that's a little high for sure, but you're in the full conversation, so a good number of people, looks like about, let me see here, 5, I think, total, could have a real banana bread, and that's the number that's a little more important.
This is true.
Cooldown expired. Flirt could be coming
Ryooo
whenever.
really taking his time here.
He can afford to, especially after that green flirt, and because he left Purloin on, he doesn't have to rush 2 statue visits late or a bug or something like that. He can just go to bar whenever to finish that last mission.
Track, that wasn't a green flirt, that was 2 white flirts.
Oh, God. I didn't even see. 51%, huh? Okay.
Yep. 76 now.
I hope I can be forgiven for assuming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've done it before.
That doesn't happen much. Well, so we've 3 flirted to 76.
Yep.
It's Terrace, you're fine.
Well, it is Terrace, but clock is ticking down. We're down to a minute now.
Yeah, now things are getting interesting. I think Ryooo may be just hoping for that kind of Civ shot, which you'll get on Terrace so much, potentially, but you don't really have the mission set up for it exactly, and I just haven't seen many fingerprints coming out of Mr. Taft there.
Oh, that Ambassador path, though, it went back the other way as well. I'm so surprised Ryooo didn't try to grab one of those.
Bug me, bug me! Taft is just dying to be bugged in all these games.
Sure is. Timer is starting to look a bit worrisome. It's 30 seconds now.
Yeah, I don't know what our plan is here. I don't see how you can fake a delegate. I don't even know if you're going to finish in time with the delegate, or if you just go to Purloin directly. You can flirt right here. Are you even close enough?
What?
They're going to red flirt
Was
and
that a
hope.
red flirt?
They're going to hope, I think, that it looks like Cowboy delegated to us.
I think that's what it's going to be because it's a direct Purloin. Safety off. Spy ran out of time.
That is not how I thought that was going to go.
Before the civilian shot.
I think they were just so taken aback by that Purloin that they're just thinking, I'm not even sure who could have done it. I mean, let me see here. So they red flirt the seduction target. That part makes sense. They are... Boy, I don't even know. Kane was not in the same conversation.
I
Kane was
don't
not in the
know,
same conversation.
Track.
I mean, I understand the red flirt. The red flirt makes it look like you were delegated to by your seduction target, and they bailed immediately. It's a very standard spy move, fine. I just can't believe it almost worked on the wrong person, but then didn't because they ran out of time. By the way, this move also makes a lot more sense if you get that earlier flirt, if you haven't 3 flirted to 76.
Oh, it
because
was
then,
because of the... I think it was because of he was worried about fingerprints?
I don't know. So Kane returns the briefcase at the end, and you never know for sure if there's a bug there. But it happens all at 5 or 6 seconds. So I think the idea was they weren't actually concerned. They might have even seen the Purloin. Actually,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They might not have even seen it, and because all the other action that Kane is doing happens around 5 or 6 seconds, they're waiting for an overtime that never comes. That is a funny way to lose a game, though. Sniper doesn't see the thing you're trying to maybe frame someone for, isn't even noticing the end game because someone else they're concerned about is busy doing stuff. That's wild.
That is wild indeed, but it winds up working out for Duckett either way. So he now steps into the spy side of things, looking to get up to 4 in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Terrace is swingy, and that's what you need. Again, you can't even afford a tie. I think you really need this spy win here.
Yeah, I think so. Duckett has already at least split this map, which is the best he's done so far. But you
after this,
can't afford to be splitting maps at this point in the match.
right, Ryooo gets gallery next. Duckett has balcony.
Oh no, the entry into the bar.
It's a little rough. I just don't see how many more opportunities you're going to get here to win a spy game against Ryooo. Not the way they've looked.
Indeed. Man, this bar is busy.
Poor Toby. So busy. The work never ends.
There's always that early game rush for him to deal with.
Yeah, it's like as soon as they open, rush for the bar.
What was that?
Looks
You see
like-
what General just did?
Yeah. He kind of ruined our seduce and just kind of moved over there. I wonder if it was briefcase related, and then they decided when they realized Ponytail was going to beat them to it. Ponytail twitches weirdly on that briefcase, and I don't know what Ryo's going to think of that. They're good enough to know potentially that that's an AI move, but it looks so bad.
What a weird game this is. No progress from Duckett so far.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of AI is acting weird too. So it would not surprise me if Ryooo ends up taking a civ shot by the time this is all over.
First flirt comes off at 34%. Finally. Now we're in conversation with the double agent, getting ready to pick up that contact. Maybe wait until the general stops, and he actually joins us.
Look, Duckett knows what they're doing. I mentioned they get civ shot a lot. This is a good
Right.
venue for it, and they've won 8 out of 10 spy games on Terrace this season.
There's the contact, lets off 2 lowlights, both of whom were high-lit at the time. Should be able to pick up another flirt here as well, so lots of progress real fast. Red test, though, really sending General on a workout.
Yeah, and the delegate timer expired. I wonder if they were trying to kind of thread that needle, but if so, they were way off on the timer. It expired as all this happened.
Minute and 15 to play. Now as he finally steps out of the conversation, 1 minute to play. Back in conversation with the seduction target.
I'm not sure what the plan is here, unless you want to red flirt again for some reason.
I think that might be the plan, just... Nope, it's a green flirt, 67%.
Really needed that green at least for this positioning to make any sense. You're really banking on that green by not sidling up next to them.
Absolutely. What's
But are
the
you really-
play here?
What's the play? Yeah, bug, walk to windows, come back and flirt? I don't know, but Ryooo is eyeing up this conversation, eyeing up that ambassador in particular. Seems to be worried about the possibility of a late bug, so I don't know if that's going to get by them.
This is a bad situation for Duckett. We're into the beep beeps. The failed walking bug attempt is the nail in the coffin for this game.
Totally invisible, though. Even zoomed in from Ryooo. I didn't take, of course,
It
but
was a beautiful little move, but it just didn't take.
and I don't see what can happen here. You have to go seduce into delegate immediately to get pending, but you can't do it. You can't, because you can only do one of those things in a conversation.
Green timeout in the end game. He's going to hang it at 0. Now he's got 45 seconds to get something done.
And he's been bumped up with sorry here. And I think Ryooo, this is crucial. Ryooo, I'm pretty sure, realizes it's not a pending purloin. He seems to understand it's a time ad. That's a huge distinction to avoid confusion in the late game. And sorry's not helping, by the way. She's just going back to statues, and those are useless to us right now.
Yeah. But we're back down to 30 seconds and no closer to finishing missions. Another bug attempt. Again, doesn't take, but this one gets caught.
Yeah, still not very visible. Those were actually 2 pretty good bug attempts, apart from the fact that it didn't take, of course. But Ryooo just all over it. The saving grace there at the end, if there was going to be any, I think, would have been that maybe they get confused about why it's pending. Is it a green time ad? Is there a purloin pending? Something like that. But Ryooo seemed all over it. Duckett, as I mentioned, got a ton of civs shot in iron. Maybe was banking on that, expecting it, something they were able to do all season, particularly on Terrace, but you're up against a very disciplined sniper here, and it showed in that game, and I believe Ryooo is now 1 game away.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that 6 match points?
That's exactly what it is, yes, and that's when you haven't really been able to get anything by Ryooo Sniper 2, and now you're going to go into Gallery, then Balcony, then Courtyard. Good luck.
Oh boy! Best of luck, Sir Duckett. Stepping into the sniper side of Gallery. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Ryooo dumps his drink and is going to try to make it outside in time to get this flirt off. He does indeed get there. Hits a green test as well for 51%.
Yeah, Ryoo's just hitting those action tests when he needs to, except for that purloin, of course.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal on gallery. We say it over and over again. Getting the flirt done on gallery, ATs on gallery for flirts, really, really important.
Now Ryooo makes his way all the way back inside to the back of the gallery to the blue bookcase to maybe get something going here. Pulls out the blue book and goes to hang out with the double agent to get his transfer. And it was seen. Dukit, for now, stays alive.
I think Ryooo thought he had a little more cover there because the double agent was next to him, because it's such a strange place to do that microfilm, certainly.
Yeah.
And counterintuitive plays can always be their own justification, of course. But look at that. Yeah, really probably thinking that White Dress covering them a little more than they were. But Dukit was zoomed in, looking at statue visitors, watching the back of the party, and just caught the hand. It was actually quite visible, even though it was a green. Only 5 match points. That's something.
It's better than 6. And now we're on the spy side, which is where the real tests are going to be. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Opening things up with a time ad at the front of the party. That's a very risky move if Ryooo notices, but I don't think he has.
Well, I think they're thinking, I don't think I got nabbed for it on library. And granted, these are 2 different venues, but maybe just thinking, yeah, I've had a little trouble completing here, a little trouble with Seduce all season, and I'm not seeing any indication yet, at least in a small sample size, that Ryoo's going to catch for this. I think they're just going to try to play a nice, safe game and not worry too much about that. Ooh, the sniper camera, by the way, zipping around on that, maybe kind of wondering who on earth could have done that time ad.
Yeah. Caught it too late, though, as Dukit's able to pick up the first flirt from the back conversation.
I think Ryoo's been a little late on both time ads, and in this case, it looks like they're not even confident enough to secure a single low light out of it, so that's just a win.
Yeah. Correct reaction from Ryooo, though.
Yes, if you're not sure that it just happened, you just have to eat it and move on.
Second flirt, this time at the green bookcase, brings us up to 68%. Pulls the book away as well. Oh, this is real awkward.
It's incredibly awkward. The question is it awkward AI or is it awkward spy? The difference can be very, very thin in the mind of a sniper sometimes.
That is true, but we are in conversation with the double agent with a whole lot of other people. I don't think he's just going to take this opportunity to pick up the contact right here and now. 3 lowlights, it looks like. 4 now. 5.
Yep. Some of those were not on screen technically when it happened. They were inferred based on walking trajectory from Ryooo. A little risky there. Does not assume real, though, even though the front conversation would have been a really small, odd time to fake. That is a big, full conversation in the back, at least, and the DA left right afterwards.
Yeah, not bad, all things considered. Dukit back in the green bookcase to put this back where it came from.
Yeah, that's actually really good. I think that banana bread actually went really, really well for them. Between that and the time ad, certainly a good start here. But you still haven't found the difficult mission. The book has gone back. It was just there to look innocuous, I guess, and break things up. But now you got to make some progress somewhere.
Oh, the wrong arm bug on the way into conversation. That was beautiful. Dukit has had some really good-looking bugs, but this one actually takes.
And it was, I can't even call it good looking because you couldn't see it. So it doesn't look like anything to the sniper. That was invisible as far as I can tell. It was just excellent.
Absolutely gorgeous bug coming out of Dukit, and that could be the opening he needs. Only going to be able to get 1 inspect off of this statues, which means inspect swap at the end of the game is going to be difficult, but because of the... Actually, does hang around long enough to get a second one.
And it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, because of the progress on Seduce is already up to 68%. Chances are we're not going to need to go that route.
Yeah, it's going to be all about that second statue visit. Do you get shot or not? That's the question. And you're not even suspected for the bug at this point, and you didn't narrow the party down from the time ad or the banana bread. So you're just not that suspicious. What's interesting, though, Duckett wants to get the flirt done first, I guess because the seduction target moves, but the statues don't.
As Duckett goes in for his last flirt, and gets it, by the way, he does this beautiful little walk, like bounce off Toby and then walk through the middle of the conversation. Very AI-like path, and I love it.
Yeah, Duckett's having a really good game here. This has been excellent. And if they go to statues now, and if Ryooo shoots you anyway, you just have to say congratulations, because I played my best spy game, and you just shot me anyway. If you go to statues here, it's a little suspicious based on the timing, but other than that, there's really nothing else for Ryooo to go on. And as I mentioned, Ryooo does not like to shoot civs, did not shoot them much. Even for bronze, it was below average. Gonna be hard to imagine they take the shot, and that highlight really makes it seem like they're not gonna.
Facing the sniper. Oh, safety off for a second. It looks like he's decided not to. 2 seconds. He's safety off again. He's flashing, but he's not taking the shot. And Duckett somehow almost dies on one of the nicest spy games I've seen on this map.
That was really clean and very impressive that Ryooo almost shot anyway, but you just don't have quite enough there. You have what you think is a pretty good mission count, and if you're not crediting the bug, maybe you're thinking, well, okay, I don't think I missed fingerprint, Purloin's still there, I don't think I missed microfilm, so maybe they're flashing on them to say, I'm looking for this swap if it comes. I'm assuming a green swap here, right? And instead the game just ends.
Well, it was a rough start for Duckett, a very rough start, but now, after having a couple of wins on Gallery, it's still a long journey, but it's looking a little bit more in reach, especially now that we're sitting on Balcony. This is a very doable map for Duckett, especially if you can get through the sniper side of this in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Ryooo in the regular season on Sniper was a perfect 6 for 6 on Gallery. That was their first Sniper loss on Gallery. And Duckett sweeps both the Gallery games, improbably. And it's actually, they won both of their earlier Gallery games this season, so they're 4 for 4, both rolls.
Wow.
It's a small sample, but still impressive when you see those numbers so stark.
Very much so. Ryooo with a very slow start on Balcony, especially with the seduction target bailing on him. We're 30 seconds in with no progress and no seduction target nearby.
I might start to get excited if they win this game too, and or the next game, because they still need 4 more. But I will say that those 2 Gallery games felt like the least likely games for them to win, and they've already done it.
Ryooo with a pretty nice looking briefcase return. No fingerprint to play with, however, and apparently Duckett didn't like it. Ryooo is now highlit.
There is 1 minute left. We have 0 mission progress, and we're highlit on Balcony. That's not great.
It is hard to hold your shot on Balcony. It is very hard to hold your shot on Balcony. There's the first flirt. It's 51%, but it's still not enough because the timer's not going to cool down in time unless we step away and come back again. We still haven't had the contact come off yet. It hasn't been a good time. Now might be our only chance.
You got to let off the only other highlight. Yeah.
The only other highlight gets knocked out. Oh no, but it's not the right shot. It is hard to hold your shot on Balcony, and Duckett's not able to get it done. Ryooo is able to take the map 8-5.
Yeah, gold still in reach for Ryooo there. Duckett, unfortunately, loses another tough match against, to be fair, a really, really tough opponent. I know there's only a couple divisions separating these two, but as we mentioned, big skill jump in bronze, and this is one of the better players in bronze, and I think we could see from this match and others that they could hold their own a couple divisions up, too. So no shame. Nice little run there at the end for Duckett. For Ryooo, gold still in reach.
Good showing for him, though, all things considered.
Yeah, absolutely. That was some solid play from Duckett, and I'm really impressed at their resiliency after falling behind early on. They were down, I think it was 6-1 or 5-1, something like that, and played really, really well the rest of the way after they settled in.
Absolutely.